muy malo. Roto el paso de vestuario. La interpretación siempre negativa. Siempre negativa. Nunca positiva.
Hello, welcome to Siempre Positivo after Barcelona fell to a 2-1 defeat at Girona in La Liga, ceding top spot in the table to Real Madrid, who are now on an 8-game winning run in the league. I'm Sam Marsden, joined by Rik Sharma and Toni Joan Marti. Rik, how are you?
Yeah, doing all right. Been out looking at flats this morning and now, here for the pod.
Toni, ¿qué tal? ¿Cómo estás?
Good morning, good afternoon. All fine. All fine. What about you?
Yeah, good. I'm flagging a little bit this morning. I was back late from Girona. Got back at about just after 2 a.m. in the end, after I'd finished work and driven back with my colleagues, Moises Llorens and Andre Linares and Luis Bo. And up at 8 o'clock to take Luna into school. So flagging a little bit this morning. But
did you enjoy the game?
Probably not as tired as... I thought it was an enjoyable game in terms of it was an open game, lots of chances for both teams. I mean, if you're looking at it strictly from a Barca point of view, then elements of it were once again a horror show in terms of the way they played, the way they were open, etc. And the fact that this was, a second defeat in a row after that Atletico 4-0 hammering, and they've given up top spot, etc. It wasn't very enjoyable, I'm sure, for most people. But in terms of if you just stripped it back and take away the colours, the game was fairly entertaining in terms of what happened, in terms of the chaos at the end. Did you enjoy it?
Yes, a lot. I enjoyed it, to be honest, yes.
Rik, did you enjoy it?
I enjoyed it, yeah. It was a good game. I mean, like you say, obviously for Barca fans, there's a lot to be concerned about. But in terms of the actual game, it finished 2-1. But the first half could have been 3-3. There was loads of chances, end-to-end. Girona are good to watch. Barca are good to watch. Great game for the neutrals. Unfortunately, most people listening to this aren't neutral.
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, we're taking Siempre Positive to a new extreme here. All starting saying that we enjoyed Barcelona's latest defeat in La Liga, which has cost them top spot. But like you say, just to quickly go over the game. The first half was quite open. I saw mixed reviews on Discord and on X.com at halftime. I actually thought Girona did look quite dangerous going forward, but I thought Barca they created by far the better chances in the first half. There was one really good one for Girona in terms of a nap, but a lot of the times they got into good situations, and a lot of the time it seemed to be on the left with Brian Gil, and his last ball or sort of end product was just lacking in terms of the pullback, in terms of the cross. So they didn't actually have that many big chances. Obviously, there was that one save from Joan Garcia, whereas Barca obviously had a lot of chances in the first half. There was a good one for Rafinha, another one where Rafinha hit the post, another one-on-one for Lamine Yamal, and of course the Lamine penalty which hit the post. And probably surprising that it was goalless at half-time, given how both teams had almost taken that Paul Merson, you play, we play, Soccer Saturday type vibe to the first half. Barca then taking the lead through Pau Cubarsí with a header. This one did stand after his goal, obviously, against Atletico Madrid was ruled out. And I would say from that point onwards, from the moment they went behind for the final 40 minutes, I thought Girona were much better. They created a lot of chances. They equalised almost immediately, which has again been a bit of a trend for Barca, whether it's conceding early or conceding quickly after scoring through Thomas Lemar. Again, a horror show in terms of spaces in midfield, in terms of the level of individual defending, etc. And it did feel like if one team was going to win it, it was going to be Girona, and that proved the case, albeit once again in controversial circumstances, with that Echeverri foul on Jules Koundé not given, the play going on, and Fran Beltran, January signing from Celta Vigo, finishing in the 86th minute to give Girona the 3 points. Obviously, Barca were furious that Koundé, that moment on the stamp, if you will, where Echeverri sort of deflects the ball, but then his foot comes through and lands on Jules Koundé. He even said himself, I think, to Chiringuito that he wouldn't have been surprised, or he would have understood if the goal had been ruled out because of his foul, but it wasn't. The goal stood. Another controversial refereeing decision against Barca, which Hansi Flick was critical of, but also was wary about being too critical of, because he didn't want to seem to make it sound like an excuse given the nature of Barca's performance. Rik, so what were your thoughts on the game?
Well, kind of what we've already started off by saying. It was so open. Barca have not learned any lessons from the last few weeks, the last few months, the last season. Barca, I mean, they're backing themselves with this we'll outscore you strategy, which for the most part has worked. at the moment, without Pedri, the sort of quality of the chances they're getting maybe isn't quite as much, or the volume isn't quite as much. With Rafinha only able to be on the pitch in this game for 60 minutes, you're also missing and Rashford obviously not being fit, you're missing a couple of your better attacking players. Both strikers, Ferran and Lewandowski, have been out of form for 2.5 months. They've been woeful. Lamine in this game, he's been quite good, but in this game he made a couple of big mistakes. Obviously missed penalty and missed his 1-on-1 in the first half, and it can happen. He's a youngster, so on. But if you're not putting away your good chances you create at the moment, then you're not going to win these games, because the defence is as bad as it's ever been. You're playing against opponents who also missed a hatful of chances. Vanna in the first half missed 3 really good chances for Girona. I think only one of them he got a proper shot off, and the other ones were...
I think a couple of them were maybe offside as well. They played on and the flag went up afterwards. There was definitely one that did. Yeah,
okay, maybe. But there was, Girona were ripping open Barca. And I was talking to my colleague Arno about this. We were talking about how, when Barca are at their peak, they probably will outscore any team they come up against. But when they're not at their peak, which they're certainly not this season, the attackers are not... None of them has been as good as they were last season, apart from Ferran maybe, and certainly not in the last couple of months. Then they're not going to win.
Madre mía, vaya obsesión.
What do you mean? I said Ferran was the only attacker that's better than he was last season, is what I said.
It's not about, for me, yes, I know what you said, but saying that Lewandowski and Ferran have been... It's more a consequence than a cause. It's more a consequence of, at the end, both Ferran and Lewandowski, they are not creators of games. So they are the first ones who are suffering this drop of performance of Barca. They are not going to create a goal by their own. Ferran is impossible to create a goal by their own. The only one that can create a goal by his own is Lewandowski with a header. He has done sometimes, like he's not appearing, but then with a good cross, he can get the header. But if you take a look on the clear chances that both have had in the last weeks, I have not counted them, but I'm sure they are much less than those that they had some month ago, when you saw a team pressing well, attacking well, with a midfielder recovering balls on the last third. How many balls did Barca recover yesterday in the build-up of Girona? Because I would say 1 in the whole game. 1 maximum on the first half, I remember. 1. This team is not pressing as he is supposed to do that. For me, this is the people is putting the focus sometimes on centre-backs. For me, nowadays, I mean, at this moment, for me, the focus has to be on the midfielders. Fermin, Frankie, and Olmo, not pressing at all, no control at all. Pedri, I mean, we are missing Pedri a lot. For me, the team is defending horrible, but not because of the centre-backs, not because of the full-backs, even if Koundé sometimes is not great. Lamine, we know what is Lamine in terms of defending. Absolutely nothing. Ferran, who normally was full of energy, seems also really down of energy. Lewandowski, no need to talk about this. So I see a team with no battery, to be honest.
Yeah. What's also my point is that if you're playing this strategy where you're saying you're going to outscore the other team and you're making less chances than you were before, and your defense is as bad as it was before, and your strikers aren't scoring as well as they were before, it's basically in every single aspect of Barca's game, they're down compared to last season.
Yes. Well, but not even last season. No, just one thing. Not even last season. Also, 1 month and a half ago, I would say. Also,
I don't know if the tiredness thing is a factor of the fact they've played. Yesterday was their 13th game in, I think, 44 days since January the 3rd against Espanyol. Obviously, with the Supercopa progressing in the Copa del Rey, 2 Champions League games, and now they've got a couple of midweeks free. Whether that could help them refresh. And I do agree with Tony. The midfield, like the gaping gap in the midfield, obviously, if you look at the Atletico goals, a lot of the time it's the back four against Atletico and it's pullbacks where, you would like to see like a holding midfielder sort of filling the space or marking someone. It was again the case against Girona. But then also, just even when you just look at the individual defending, and yes, they are probably exposed, but when you look at Koundé for the first Girona goal, he sort of just switches off when the man steps in front of him. Obviously, Pau Kubasi's clearance isn't the best in the first place. Gerard Martin's just looking at Thomas Lemar. None of them are switched on either, so I don't want to give the defence too much of a free pass and say it's just because they're exposed, etc. But it has been difficult for them. Like Tony says, it's just structural across the team at the moment. There's no pressing is not the same. Credit to Girona. I did think the way they played out was quite good, better than most teams in terms of Tony saying them not winning the ball back. There was a lot of sort of good play from Girona in terms of playing through that press when Barca did try and press. Tony, what does Barcelona do with the midfield now? Obviously, the easy thing is to say as well, Pedri could be back on Sunday, or Flick said he will be back on Sunday.
Sam, it's not the easy thing, it's the reality.
Yeah, no, but what I'm saying is it's easy to say. The reality is the midfield is gaping holes, etc. The hard question is, what would you do to fix that beyond just saying, oh well, Pedri will come back. Let's say Pedri doesn't come back. Obviously he's had a fairly good run of fitness under Hansi Flick, but let's say he doesn't. You can't just say Pedri will come back. What could you do? Because I know you and some other people have been, and I understand it now, quite critical of Olmo, Firmino in the same midfield, especially with Frenkie. I must admit, I kind of thought. I was never a huge fan of it, but I quite liked the idea of sticking with it in terms of, you can't just do it for one game and then rule it out. But Olmo is obviously okay in possession in that position, perhaps doesn't take up the best positions, but defending, it's just a non-starter. So I feel like it's an experiment which should be coming to an end now. But obviously, Flick doesn't seem too keen to overuse or to bring in Marc Bernal or to put a lot of confidence in him. Obviously, we've seen Casado hauled off against Atletico Madrid. I don't really know what the response is, perhaps.
For me, two things I would do right now, but not for the long term, not things that I like, but just right now, seeing that you're out of battery, out of energy, some things that I would do in the following weeks is to put Rafinha as a number 10. I am the first one who says that Rafinha as a number 10 is not as good as a winger, but I would do it not focused on the attacking skills, just on the defending skills, bringing his intensity in the middle for a couple of games, and I definitely would play with Casado, because at least he is energy on the double pivot. So I think if the team needs energy, I think I would go with Casado, and I would go with Rafinha as a number 10. I insist, it's not the best to go with Rafinha. I prefer him much more on the left wing. It's just for a couple of games to recover a little bit of energy. But Olmo is not recovering a single ball. Physically, a lot of doubts, this guy. Frenkie is what it is, with good things, but never been a Claude Makelele recovering balls. And Fermin, I have been thinking about this in the last games. I think he has lost a little bit of humildad.
Humility.
Humility or humble, humility? Okay, so he has lost a bit of humility. I don't see him as implicated when it comes to press as when he was no one. I feel that he now knows that he has another status, and he has dropped a little bit his defensive performance, shooting when he has the ball, not taking the best decisions, in my opinion, in the last weeks for me. So at the end, it's a cocktail of everything. Ferran with no energy. Lewandowski, I don't know what's going on, but yesterday he didn't appear when he entered. Of course, you have lost, efectividad.
Not as clinical. You're not taking as many chances. Yeah, I mean, it's something that's been going on for a few weeks before the losers.
You are not clinical. Rafinha had clear chance. Ferran had a good chance. Lamine the penalty
and one-on-one. Lamine.
Yeah, so also the one-on-one of Lamine. So with this style of flick, we have said this several times. Is the Russian roulette. It's a style where when you are not clinical, you are going to be dead. That's why I always say that you need to protect yourself, because when you are not clinical, at least you have some extra life. But with this style, no clinical, no life.
Yeah, well,
this is like
exactly that's what I started the pod by saying. And it's like they're playing Russian roulette, except at the moment they're putting 3 bullets in the gun, not 1.
Sí, totalmente.
Rick, I'm interested that Tony said he would go with Casado. I think Casado is fine for certain games at home, etc. I just think I wouldn't have him for any big game. I'd be more inclined to put Eric in, but then obviously you've got problems at centre back.
Yeah, it's almost like the Mourinho blanket thing, where you do one thing, you move Eric to there, then you're lacking at centre back because Araujo is obviously not ready to play 90 minutes or play well. Like, not that anyone is, to be honest. Or okay, but to be honest, for me, Bernal is the one. If we can say Bernal can play and he's ready to play 90 minutes, which doesn't seem to be the case based on how Flick's been using him, then I would put Bernal in as with Frenkie when Pedri's out, and then have Olmo or Firmino ahead of them.
I would definitely put Bernal in this weekend against Levante at home. That's a perfect game for him to get another hour and to keep building up minutes, because they need to start coming now. It's all right saying he's not ready, but they're not giving him enough minutes, really.
Yeah,
but Bernal is not. I mean, in the supermarket, in the department of energy drinks, there is no Bernal. Bernal is on the department of quality. I mean, if you have a lack of energy, bringing Bernal changes almost nothing. He's not especially energetic guy. In fact, he's more like Busquets, a post guy.
I don't think they need energy in midfield necessarily. Yes, they do, but I think what they also need is positioning.
You don't think you need a little bit more of attitude when it comes to pressing? You don't think it's a
what I'm saying is I would value Bernal's ability and positioning as much as just bringing Casado in for energy.
Yeah, I think that Bernal will also help Frenkie be at his better level than when he's playing as a single defensive midfielder, which obviously doesn't work. And the other change I would make is, I mentioned this on the Discord yesterday, and it doesn't have to be Lamine, but I would really consider using Lamine or Olmo or Fermin as a false nine, and then you get one extra midfielder on the pitch. And then you have a little bit more in terms of they can drop back a bit and be another body there. So even if you're not getting energy per se by one player adding that energy, you're getting just bulk in numbers. You can pass the ball a bit better, keep the ball a bit better, save some energy by passing it around a bit more, which obviously hasn't been necessarily the Flick approach to things. But I think at this point you do have to look for an alternative, and for me that would be taking off the worst performing players on the team, which are the number nines, and not that the centre backs or whatever any better, but there's just no other alternative there, and adding that one more midfielder.
Yeah, let's see if Flick does anything, if he changes anything. I have to say, I mentioned this to you the other day, Rick, after the press conference Flick gave before the Girona game. I think it was before the Girona game. A little bit in line with what Tony's always said about sort of there being some sort of arrogance to him, or certainly a stubbornness about changing his style. When he was asked, I think he was asked a question about, obviously some teams sharp shop and play with the back five. Some teams like Atletico really attacked you with wide wingers. How do you prepare for these different challenges and stuff? And he said, he basically said, we don't prepare for different challenges. We just focus on our own game, which, and like you said, Barca, if they focus on their own game with enough quality in the way they play, and they do have to focus on their own game 100%. But for him to almost sort of just suggest that they don't consider how the opposition will set up or how they will play, I mean, surely he does. Surely he's just saying, surely that's just something he says. I can't imagine he doesn't consider at all the opposition, but that's effectively what he said. Yeah,
it was quite a surprising comment, and it really did fit exactly what Tony's been saying about Flick being arrogant. As soon as we talked about it, I was like, that's literally what Tony's been saying for months about Flick's approach.
Just bonkers to imagine that you don't consider how the opposition are going to play and where they could do you damage, and to prepare for that, especially when we know the problems Barca have had in recent years. It's not like, Madrid maybe are, but 10 years ago when Barca could go out and sign a Suarez for 80 million when he's the best striker on the market, etc., or a Neymar when he's the best young player in Brazil. They've basically got a squad that's been, I don't know if cobbled together is a little bit dramatic, but on youth team graduates, the odd free transfer, yes, they have spent a little bit of money in there, but not much compared to even an Atletico Madrid and stuff. So you have to sort of consider all your options and what you're coming up against. So it was surprising to hear him say that, although maybe not, given everything that Tony has said all season, to be fair.
Sí, es que, unfortunately, it's nothing new. But for me, the difference is that sometimes when we have been discussing this point was mainly the only point. Barca was playing well, and we were just saying that you got too exposed in concrete moments. But now on the analysis is, apart from this, lots of things apart from this, because at least when we were saying this regarding the style, you were at least on 80% of your power. But now, apart from these doubts regarding the style, you have this low version of Dani Olmo, receiving a lot of balls. But did you see the zone where he was receiving? No danger at all for Girona. No danger at all. Okay, yeah, you can have as ball as you want, Olmo. You are not creating danger at the back of the defensive midfielders. That zone, that concrete zone where Lionel Messi used to park his car, always walking, waiting at the back of the defensive midfielder and then receiving the ball. This is what kills the defense. Single ball Barcelona was receiving there. Lamine has lost, I have said this, has lost efficiency when it comes to taking decisions. But still, I'm not going to blame Lamine for missing a penalty. Just that he has missed some efficiency. Ferran, not in the good shape. Lewandowski, not in the good shape. Also, Rafinha, yeah, he has been injured. Also, the point that we should, I think, criticize a little bit. You brought a right back in winter who is not really, I'm not really sure he's useful. You don't have a left centre back. Yesterday you don't have any weapons. So I think in terms of a squad, I don't know. I'm not extremely happy. It's true that Rashford has been injured, but I miss something, no? Because this team, when you don't have Pedri and Rafinha, it seems that it's impossible to get big things.
Yeah, jury's still be out and a long way to go this season, of course. But the Cancelo signing, well, I think we all knew it and said it at the time, but it's probably had even less of an impact than we might have imagined so far. I would certainly have imagined him playing more minutes or coming on in games like against Girona at 1-1 when you're obviously pushing to try and win the game and go back to the top of the table. But yeah, we'll see if, Levante at home, followed by Villarreal, if there are some minutes for him in recent weeks. The squad's certainly looking a little bit short. Let's come on to the controversial moment then, because it was obviously another talking point. Tony, I think you called it one of the biggest robberies you've ever seen on the Discord. I'm sure you've seen a lot of robberies. Obviously, the Echeverri foul on Koundé, which wasn't given. Barca, obviously, everyone who spoke from Barca felt it was a foul. I think most people felt it was a foul. One person who didn't give their opinion was the DAZN journalist who was interviewing Flick, who said, "I'm here to ask the questions," and Flick said fine and walked away from the interview, said, "Then I won't give you my opinion." I think even Michel, the Girona coach, sort of said, he didn't say it wasn't a foul, but he said it's not the sort of action he'd like to see revised by VAR, which is kind of telling, I guess, in a way. And Echeverri, as I said earlier in the podcast, said he wouldn't have been surprised or he wouldn't have sort of been too aggrieved if it was given as a foul. Tony, how worried are you? I guess we don't really need to speak about this decision. I think everyone can mostly agree it was a foul. But how worried are you, and how what's the word, conspirational are you in terms of, is that a word, Rik? Conspirational?
Never heard of it. Conspiratorial
in terms of what Barca have to do in the refereeing situation. Obviously, this comes after Barca sent a formal complaint to the Federation and the refereeing committee at the weekend about inconsistencies in refereeing and VAR.
No. The first day you said that you were not going to talk about referees, no excuses, and then when you see the reality, then no. I'm disappointed with Barca. Yes, not with referees, with Barca. Not with referees, with Barca. With referees, I know what it is. I hate the people that say that Barca and Madrid both are robbing. Yes, it's true. Barca and Madrid are the two teams who have been, who have received more gifts from the referees. This is true. But you cannot put on the same back Barca and Madrid. Madrid is a scandal. It's incredible. It's something that for sure in some years we will know what was going on with Sotogrado. Trust me. It's incredible because, against the small teams, Barca and Madrid, they got penalties and it's easier to go with them. Yeah, but you cannot put me both on the same back. It's incredible. What I saw yesterday, the referee didn't even go to the screen. Tell me that it's not a decision that you want to make when you don't even go to the screen, because you know that if you go to the screen, you have to disallow the goal. The same referee that did the same decision, the opposite decision when Koundé had that action against Rayo. when what it was goal of Barca and then it was disallowed. So this is competing against Real Madrid, is competing against gangsters, mafia. But this once you accept this, because it's not my opinion, it's just what we saw, it's incredible. Once you see this and you know this, for me, as a club, you cannot say, I'm not going to talk about referees. You have to play harder. For me, Barca has to retire from La Liga yesterday. Out of the pitch. If you don't cry, you don't get things. And Mourinho knew it perfectly. Barca is like a stupid toy. Not even crying for what's happening. After what happened yesterday, for me, Barca has to retire from La Liga. To be honest, no way. It's incredible. I can accept a mistake for one line. I can accept several of mistakes. For sure, I can accept this. Because, okay, sometimes the penalty of Julian Alvarez, that double touch, okay, these things, for me, there is nothing behind there. But you don't even go to the screen yesterday? Can you explain me why you don't go even to the screen when the player of Girona does not touch the ball? I mean, he touches the ball, but it comes first from Koundé. No. For me, Barca has only one solution: playing hard and not with official statements. This is shit. This is shit. You go nowhere with this, and then you keep being the friend of Tebas, and he's fucking you for your ass. For me, it's the problem. It's the problem of the club. Yes. The problem is the club, because this corrupt system, you're not going to change it. It is what it is. So if you don't change the corrupt system, at least do your own work. You're not doing nothing. Bah, en fin, no. Increíble lo de ayer. What I saw yesterday, incredible.
I don't blame the referee himself for not going to the screen, because it's not him. He doesn't decide when he goes to the screen. It's the people in the VAR room who should be telling him, you have to look at this again. That to me is incredible, that the people in the VAR room don't say to the referee, come and look at this situation. And it's also this issue I've had with VAR from the very start. The very start of VAR, I've always said this. It gives way too much power to a bunch of people that you don't even see, who just they can decide what happens in a match, basically, by telling when the referee goes to the screen or not. Because of how few times if the referee is told to go and look at something, he almost always, 99% of the time, goes to agree with whatever he's been told he has to go and look at. So just a bunch of people, faceless people, deciding stuff.
Yes.
Incredible.
It's tricky, and we're at the risk of repeating the conversation we had, obviously, after the Atletico game. There have to be big changes to VAR, and obviously I suggested some things after the Atletico game, which I'm not necessarily completely sold on, which I thought that was more to do with the time limit one. In general, I think I have said I'm in favour of stripping it back to the extent where perhaps, like Michel says, not in this current guise, I think it should be reviewed and it should have been disallowed yesterday, but I'm broadly in favour of a system where that's quite a clear one, but where sort of there's less VAR intervention, unless it's sort of a clear-cut sort of offside which you can rule. But yeah, it's an absolute farce at the moment, the inconsistencies, etc. What do you think should have happened with the Echeverri decision, Rick?
Well, first of all, the referee on the pitch should do his job and blow for a foul, but the referees are crap at the moment and have been for a few years, have been for even longer than that, to be honest. Since I've been in Spain, they've not been particularly good. And then as soon as he doesn't see it or whatever, then the people in the VAR booth have to say, ref, you have to come and look at this and see whether this is a foul in the build-up. Yeah. It's obviously a bad decision, and it's cost Barcelona a point here. Yeah.
Given where we are with VAR and how VAR operates in Spain, they absolutely should be called to review that, given the importance ahead of the goal.
But I also agree with Flick in the sense that Barca played really quite poorly overall, and they didn't only lose this game because of that. They also lost this game because of their own performance, their own finishing, their own terrible positioning and work in midfield, the poorest defence, and so on. But yeah, the cherry on the cake.
That teases up nicely for the ratings, to see who suffered the most in Rick's ratings. From Girona 2, Barcelona 1.
Yeah, I could almost do what I did the other day, but apart from Joan Garcia, who I gave 9 out of 10, Don't blame him for the goals. Couple of great saves. Did the best that he could. Jules Koundé, 5.5. Nice cross for Kubasi's goal. Kuba, I gave him 6. Eric, worst game for ages. He's been one of Barca's better players this season, but 4.5. Poor game. Gerard Martin, 5. Frankie, 5. Fermin, 4. Olmo, 4. Lamine, I don't know. Lamine, I'm tempted to give. I'm going to give him a 4 as well because he missed the penalty, missed his big chance in the first half, but he also did outside of those things, which is a big outside of to say he did.
I would never give him less than 5 or 6 to Lamine, even if he missed the penalty. Yeah. He was the only one creating danger in the last 10 minutes.
Yeah, I mean that's exactly what I'm saying. Yeah, outside of those things, he did okay. Nothing amazing, but he did okay. Ferran 4 and Rafinha 5.5 was okay when he was on, and once he went off, it was a dreadful combination of events. It was Girona scored, and then a second later, Rafinha's taken off, and it's like, well, Barca are done here. Then no one, nothing to add from the bench.
I'm so confused at the moment by what Barca should do in the summer. And I'm seeking your opinions here because I'm doing a piece with Moises on sort of every club on ESPN. We're doing sort of an early look ahead to the summer with a period of sort of 7 questions about what would you do here, what would you do there. A little bit like the sporting director thing. But I keep flipping and flapping between what Barcelona need. Obviously, we know they need a number 9 at some point. We know they need a centre-back at some point. We know they probably need a full-back, although it's not clear whether you'd replace Koundé or Balde or whether they just need competition or a versatile backup. And I'm increasingly thinking back to the Xavi era, they do need perhaps a holding midfielder. We've pinned a lot on perhaps Bernal being able to come in and play alongside Pedri or De Jong or whatever. If you could just sign in, and also obviously, a left winger, which is probably a little bit like the full back situation in the fact you've got Rafinha, you've potentially got the option to buy Rashford, but if you're without them or you're without Lamine, you're severely lacking. They're probably the 1, 2, 3, 4 positions or 4 areas Barca need to desperately strengthen. But if you could only strengthen if you had to prioritise those areas, where are you at right now? Because I'm sort of pushing back towards, like Tony, I mean, they desperately need a centre-back. They desperately need a number 9 long-term. But also that midfield is looking like they really could do with a body in there as well. Where are you at in that sense, Rik?
Well, it's a complete mess, isn't it? I mean, the reality is, apart from goalkeeper and right wing, and maybe left back, Barca actually could do with a player in every other position on the pitch.
Tony, what would you be looking to do right now? Obviously, we can be a little bit reactive after back-to-back defeats, but it's a tricky one, isn't it, to know what the team needs to improve?
No. Tell me how much money I have, and I will tell you. I cannot answer this question because if I can only do one signing, it's not the same if I can do 3 or 4.
You got 70 million, Tony.
Plus what you sell.
Ad hoc sporting director episode.
No, say okay. Let's analyze this on the next Q&A. I cannot answer in 1 minute.
All right. Well, let's just.
Let's
pick one position then. Because I've mentioned those 4 positions: full-back, centre-back, centre midfield. 5 positions: a winger and a striker. If you could sign one player, if you just had to sign one player tomorrow, not a name of a player, a position, which position do you think would most improve Barca? E.g., do you think signing a 9 would obviously wouldn't fix the way Girona cut through them yesterday? So what's more important right now?
I would go with a centre back.
Yeah, me too. And the reason being,
left centre back.
You can move Eric into the defensive midfield as the extra backup midfielder, and you can use Lamine or Olmo or whoever as a false 9. Yeah. So
exactly.
I would go centre back as well. Yeah.
But yeah, one to get into it at some point on the next Q&A, which I believe, Rik, is coming up this week.
Yeah, Q&A this week. Tony, before we end the pod, and I need to state right at the top of this, don't want to have any argument about this. Just interested in your thought about this.
Yes.
Whether you change your mind or not, maybe you haven't. Perfectly fine not to.
Here we go again.
And I know. It is to do with the shark, but I just want not for the sake of an argument, just to know whether your thinking is still the same.
See.
Since he scored a hat-trick against Betis, Ferran has 3 goals in 14 games. Right? And I'm not saying he's worse than Lewandowski or anything, because Lewandowski's been rubbish. But do you still think Ferran is in... Obviously, and Barca have been bad in this period as well, so that has contributed. Is this the case that Ferran is still in a new era, or new dynamic, or did he just have a very good period?
Well, I think I told you that he's more consequence of the drop of the team more than a cause. The day that I see Ferran missing a lot of chances in a row, like 3-4 games, then I will tell you that he's a disaster. It's obviously that he's not at the same level, but for me, him and Lewandowski are suffering this drop of the team. So that's what it is. For me, when I'm criticizing now Ferran, it's not because of the game against Atletico, because of the game yesterday, because he played decent. It's for the games before when he had a couple of clear chances and he missed. Not many, but a couple. Yesterday, for example, the action that he has, he does it perfectly. That's why I tell you, for me, I'm suffering. They are suffering the drop of the team more than they themselves. What I see that Ferran has dropped his performance is in terms of energy. I don't know. I don't see him finding his space or recovering balls. No.
I think him and Fermin, like I said before, actually, are quite similar. They're both better when they're fighting for their place, when they're getting rest and they're coming on and playing for 30 minutes. And then they have that energy. They have that sort of ganas to show that they deserve to be playing. And then when they end up starting, they just don't have quite as much.
With Ferran, something happens sometimes. It's like when he feels, or when he is the number one in attack for a long time, then he drops a little bit. It's like, it seems that sometimes he needs to be between the bench and the starter to get his best version sometimes.
Yeah. I think that's the same for Olmo and Fermin as well.
Yeah. And for me, that's the difference between really good players and top players. That's why we always say Barca doesn't have a top 5 number 9 in the world. But I don't think that's the problem even. Check the scoring numbers of Barca this season. It's not a problem of goals. And you will tell me, well, yes, and against Atletico it was a problem of goals. Yes, but I don't think Barcelona has problem of goals. Because against Atletico, how many clear chances you created? Not many. I'm trying to remember now, but not many clear chances. Couple of shots of Fermin, and one header of Ferran when he did find that header. And yesterday, yes, it's true that Rafinha had that clear chance, the penalty of Lamine yesterday, yes, but not Ferran many, that one that he had. So for me, the debate regarding the number 9 could be regarding the fact that maybe you need a number 9 who is not a finisher, but just a creator. For example, for me, I don't think Haaland is neither a creator. It's just a finisher. So I think maybe you need a 9 who is able to create the goal when the team is not producing. For example, Harry Kane, yes, a creator. The other day that we were on an argument with Ansu fanboy about the price. For me, Kane, yes, is a profile who can create a goal from the nothing. But also Lautaro appearing sometimes. But there are not many 9s that when the team is not producing, they can create a goal, in my opinion.
If you want more questions on the number 9 situation at Barcelona, drop them on Patreon this week. We'll be dropping a Q&A over on there later this week. That's all for today. A couple of days off for the Barcelona players. Hansi Flick said they need a reset. They're off Tuesday and Wednesday, back in on Thursday to prepare for Sunday's game against Levante. We'll be back on that Monday next week instead of the Tuesday. Today, of course, the Girona game taking place on Monday.
4-star General is angry with me for what I said about Ademola Lookman, so I'll have to address that on the Q&A pod.
Address it on the Q&A pod, yeah. In the meantime, stay positive.